I think before we begin this seminar, I'd like to get our thank yous underway so we see where the strength of what we've done has come from. I'd like to thank both the coordinator of it and the man on the machine on the left. And I think you've done a wonderful job, Howard. We feel the enthusiasm and the love, and we're very grateful to it. To everyone who's attached to, in some form of preparation, it all moves smoothly somehow, and someone did it. Someone got behind it. And to all these invisible hands who have done things, I think gratitude is not only felt, but it is felt by us, but also by the one who has done it, that they feel our gratitude. I think all of us here are very grateful, too, that we have been able to give attention to one thing, and that's the message. Everyone else is kept in the background, and because of it, the message stands out a little clearer. So we all start with a full heart of knowing that everyone involved in this seminar has given their best. And the students have brought something very special. You know, the message, it's always wondered about the message. It doesn't always come from one single source. The capacity of the student to accept the message is felt before the message is delivered. And the capacity of the student has a lot to do with what comes into the class. If you didn't have the capacity to receive, there would be no impetus on this end to give it. So we're working together, and I think the results have shown that. So a giant thank you for all that you've done in preparing and making possible the spiritual message we've received. A lot goes even deeper than the message. It's what the message does to you. Your feeling for the message, of the message, and how you respond. And that response is already on the way. We feel it. We're grateful. We feel that today was an important day in the culmination of something we have started a long time ago. It's definitely brought us to another feeling of what the Spirit says to us. And I think this will continue in some way, in different ways, to each of us. I wish we could see each other 10 years from now to see what a difference living outside of time, as we shall be doing, can make. Some time ago, not far, there was a you, and it had a mortal name. It had a mortal body. It mingled with other mortals. And then a you began to develop, which stepped away from this you, this mortal image, and somehow, without eyes, you were heading for something called immortality. Away from it all. And yet it surrounded you, And as you walked into immortality, there were two of you. There was the mortal you and the immortal you, almost side by side, one dwarfed the other. History was being made, stepping out of reality, into reality from illusion, into a touch of the spirit from the material world, finding self. I think we may have started on a degree of that and feel that we're moving correctly. I don't feel anything in the spiritual atmosphere which says we are making serious errors. We seem to be moving in a direction that has health in it, that has vision, that has purpose. And I think many of us can feel that we have definitely departed from an area of murkiness, a degree of inadequacy, into something strange, wonderful. Something that brings us closer to the Christ figure, enables us to say, I'm following you and you can't even cast a shadow between us. I like to feel that way. I hope you feel that way. And I think now we can get on with it, see what's to be done in our lives. There's something that demands expression, and it's coming forth now in such a way that I don't think it can be denied again. There's something that is saying, I am the immortal Christ, not fully realized, but I know I am, and there's nothing to deter me from the full extension of self into the spiritual world. There's enough momentum created in me to move me out of the illusion. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it feels a lot more warm and inviting than struggling around in doubts about who, where, and what I'm doing. I don't have any doubts about it. I know what I'm doing. I can't put my finger on where I'm going, but I have a general sense of the direction. And I'm trying to speak for all of us, so that we have enough started within us that we can look at the next hurdle, and it's not going to be much of a hurdle because we're facing everything with the knowledge that anything that's wrong isn't. It's strictly there to make me come over it so that I can benefit by the hurdles. Ready for anything. And that'll be some tough going. But we need every negative in our lives to make us find the positive. So now Christ's message is blossoming. We feel something that Christ has done, which very few people suspected. Christ also did what we are doing. Christ dropped the sense of mortality and dropped the sense of figure, dropped the sense of everything in this world in order to attain what became known to us as Christ consciousness. All the mortal roots that had been engendered by living in this world were wiped out. Now he could say, you wanted to give me the kingdom in time. I rejected it. Instead, I have found the kingdom outside of time, where all is the divine will and expression. The strange thing about time is that it surrounds you. It surrounds you because you are an everywhere self, and you're living in the finitude of life. When you step up to the infinity and find your everywhereness, there's no possibility for the things you have left behind, because time in various areas is one thing. But when you reach all areas of the non-terrestrial form, how could there be time here and time there, all different? In your body, in yourself. It's one time, and the time is now. As you stand in the now, you eliminate all time. And that is what we are doing. Time is gone. Now is. And time does not contain the various qualities of God. You can't call on them automatically, have them come forth, mingle, and establish your consciousness. But when you're out of time, everything is working. Everything you are synchromeshes. In time, it all jumbles, lacks coherence, lacks force, it lacks one direction. Let's see what it is now to overcome the illusion of time a little more. We are getting rid of that thing called time sense, which really isn't time. We had a sense of time. And now we are pure. It's not 1 o'clock, it's not 2 o'clock. It's going to be the same time, which is no time. It will be an amazing thing to walk in no time, because you're so used to having someone tell you, well, we got to be there at 11 o'clock. And that, in turn, has an effect on everything you do. But in no time, you're going to find there aren't seasons. A flower doesn't bloom at a certain time of year. And all these things are very small. In this world they're not, but in that perfect universe, they're so small that you can't find any of this degree of thinking. You're in a beautiful world, which is beautiful forever. We can't say enough about it. We can't say enough about how perfection will keep us in amazement. But it's going to be a long time before the world is into the one Christ, and there'll be a seeming appearance of many Christs, all Christ, all perfect, all exhibiting perfection in every possible way. I might say there's no money in heaven. Somehow we don't buy or purchase things we want and need and pay for it. The reason is that everything you need is automatic. But I don't want to get into the utopia yet. I'd rather we come to the understanding of things as they are rather than hear about them. Because that's part of the growth expressing itself. And your job is merely to stay within what you are. Be what you are. There's nothing else to be. And let the power of being what you are express what you are. Keeping all human hands off, knowing from now on becoming spiritual every day. And there's nothing for me to add to it. It is the perfect kingdom. And it's perfect because I am in it. And he is in it. We are all perfect. I hope we're not bored with our perfection. We want to meditate now to say to the Father, we have tried and are trying to maintain, to attain every precept that you gave us. Perhaps in the recent months or earlier, you made a startling discovery. When something went wrong, you worked a long time, you thought a long time, you investigated it. You may have discovered that at the base of your problem was the fact that you were dividing your life between spirit and matter. You knew you were supposed to be spirit, and you knew you were not matter, but still the old wheels were turning on the material. Things you were doing were in the material world. And when the problem finally hit you, it was too late for you to sit back and say, now, what is the basis of this? You're reacting to a material problem. What should you have done? How does one treat a material problem when one doesn't exist? So the idea is to find what it is and step out of it. And even though it keeps attacking you and you can't get rid of it, it's only attacking the material sense of you. And you finally find that the problem exists only because it has matter to attack. When you finally can see through it and release the idea of matter, that you are not matter, there is no matter in your life. When you can purify yourself of that belief, and even then invite the so-called devil to attack, there's nothing in you to attack. You can't attack a spiritual being. You can only attack matter. So the moment you feel something going wrong, remember, one part of you must be material. The thing that's being attacked, the thing that's reacting to the attack, or both. What in me is matter? I didn't know I had any left. But you go searching. Well, your reaction is material. Come to think of it, your entire problem began with a material problem. And one by one you face the fact that you're still immortal living in a material world, and that's the reason you've got problems. This will go on and on until you finally are able, through habit of getting into a material consciousness, and then through effort, to slowly dislodge yourself, to rise above it, and to finally be true to your identity. How can I, the Spirit of God, have a material problem? It's simple when you finally reach the conclusion, but until you do, you bear all the marks of a great war. If I have a problem, it must be the residue of my material consciousness. And if I am alert, I know how to counteract that by finding my spiritual reality to a degree, learning to live in it, and then finally making the decision that how can spirit be matter? How can matter be spirit? I am one, not the other. I must find the reality. I must finally decide that as spirit, I remain spirit. Because everything I do right up and down the line of life will depend on my decision. I am spirit, always. In the final analysis, smooth living, fruitful living, the attainment of a consciousness that is unruffled by storm, can only happen when you work at it on a daily basis. I would say on an interrupted basis, if you could. Let's look at our body. Let's transform our body. We have two bodies, one matter and one spirit. The material body is only a mental illusion. The spirit body is the only body. How do we keep out of the mental illusion? We scan every inch of that body. Do you know your own spiritual body? You can't see it. You can't touch it. You can only accept its presence. It isn't a dwarf like your human body. You can't run your fingers over the circumference of it. It's beyond touch, beyond dimension. You've been getting a little pint of air through a lung. You see how ridiculous that is? When you live on air from the lungs, it's got to end somewhere. And yet we think we're hanging on a thread. We release ourselves from these foibles, these little facts that support a very limited way of thinking. Wherever we see limitation, we know that's not of God. Every limitation is not of God. When you can find that which is unlimited, you're talking God's language. How would you move into your business world with a spiritual consciousness that cleanses everything, sees what it sees, accepts it as what it is, and then goes beyond and lives at a higher dimension than what it sees, and does it consciously? This is your task, to see that you can break every block that appears to stand before you. Even a housewife will discover that her duties are spiritual. She has misinterpreted it down to a material sense of life. When you go for a glass of water, there's no water trickling through the kingdom of God. It's a very desirable commodity down here. You've got to see that you've got a glass of light. Everything you do bolsters your knowledge that you are the light living in the light. Slowly you allow yourself to feel that the world is transforming in front of you. It was once material in your eyes. You are letting it transform itself. Now when you come across big things, economics, country protection, things that are more than you, things that involve many people, you see them for what they are. They're all the invisible light. And as you stand in your consciousness that I'm surrounded by light, you can feel within yourself something changing, something that seems to resemble a new consciousness, a new strength, a new level of yourself, something that's prepared to uplift everything around it. You're feeling like all of the surroundings are reacting to you. You're a force in every inch of it. You feel your omnipresence. very difficult to find an answering spiritual message in your own family sometimes. There seems to be an inability to respond spiritually. And at times it's made you feel helpless. That's the thing that you must learn will change if you live with it knowingly, if you take it into the light. A husband, a wife, a daughter, a son, all may be quite good people in your eye, but somehow you can't awaken something in them that seems to indicate they have another level of life. And though they are there, their spirit isn't there. I don't know how many families are completely devoted to the Spirit or only partially. But if you can awaken one more member of your family, you will find that the whole family will change. When a youngster in a family becomes illuminated, something about his indomitability, the way he carries himself, the way he looks at life, the way he smiles when other people are frowning, becomes a very infectious truth. It's very important for us to give much of our attention to the young folks among us, because they represent tomorrow on the earth. And tomorrow on the earth will have a realization of the light if you, instead of talking the light, see the light yourself, live in the light, and somehow those around you will feel and begin to cherish the difference. One man in an office can change the office. One person in a home. One person in the government. One is worth 100 in materiality. One feeling the light. We have a large area now in every city which you may not know is close to the light, which may appear to be fumbling in the darkness, which may appear to be criminal even. They are begging in their silent way for the light to enter their consciousness. They don't know that the light is what they are seeking. They don't know that the light is what is there. They only know that they are doing the best they can. And it looks horrible. It looks so horrible that it makes even normal people repulsed. It seems that great dangers walk through our streets. That's because the light does not walk through our hearts. When the light is in your heart, there are no dangers. You smile at them. And they're puzzled because, what is this thing? Somehow the bluff doesn't work anymore. That's the way you cleanse up the world. You can be 83 and doing your share of cleansing the world. Another boy can be 15 and so endowed with the capacity to live in the light that his life can be a virtual Christ life. It is our function at all times to make the world different, to stand fast, with an understanding within, alive, that I am here to bring God's will into operation. I am the presence of God on earth. And everyone who knows it is the presence of God on earth. And we are an army. Not a punitive army, not a warlike army, an army of love. And everyone who walks with the light, regardless of his age or sex, is going to find that it begins to shine in the consciousness of others. There's an infectiousness about the light. Its kindness, its love is reflected, received, shines back at us. We make what we enjoy and don't enjoy. We make it by what we do. If you stand with the light in your life, your neighbor does, it comes back and feeds us all. I think I'd pause right now. We want to make sure that our last hour together is going to come into the light. And if we take 5 or 10 minutes, I'm sure we'll feel refreshed. Come back looking for the best and finding it. So let's take the time. Before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father. Having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. Love is stressed all through. No matter what the circumstances, going, coming, with them, love is what holds the world together in the Spirit. You find out why when you're in the Spirit. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Jesus, knowing that the Father given all things unto his hands, and that he was come from God and went to God, he riseth from the supper, laid aside his garments, and took a towel, girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin, began to wash the disciples' feet, and wiped them then with a towel wherewith he girded. What's going on? What is the symbolism? Does he think their feet are dirty? Is he saying something? What is he saying? This is to you and to me. I'm sure he didn't have to wash their feet with a towel. I'm sure whatever he was doing to those disciples, he long had done. He was telling something to somebody. Do you think it was the people in the room that he was making conversation with? Or was he speaking to 100 million people who would follow? What was he saying to you? To me? To each individual? How in the world could a teaching be as wonderful as this? All through the Bible, he teaches them without saying what he wants to say, because it has to make a deeper impression. If he were to say what he wanted to say, they'd probably never see the Bible again. You and I wouldn't be reading it now. He had to do everything in such a way that the so-called authorities would even boast of it. See what he did and see what he did. Nobody knew what he was saying except someone who was aglow within and would say, see how wonderful what the Master is teaching them. And another person would say, well, he just washed their feet. Now, every one of you must not only know what he was saying, but you must feel within yourself the power of that moment, that he's washing the feet of them. But that's an interior event. And just as if you were there now, as he washed the feet, he was doing what you know you must do. He's commanding you, teaching you, loving you. So before we're through, we must understand this. You dwell on it for a few minutes while I read some more, but you've got to know what happens when he washes your feet. That's Christ washing the feet. You are standing there and your shoes are off, and Christ is washing your feet. But is he washing your feet? Or is he telling you something? Then cometh he to Simon, Peter, and Peter said unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? That's the man who later was called Saint Peter. He says here, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Now what do you know that Peter didn't know? Jesus answered him and said unto him, I do, thou knowest not. Not now, but thou knowest hereafter. What did Peter learn hereafter about that event? What you are aware of now or about to learn. Everyone in this room is going out to wash the feet of the world. You must. You have no choice. You must do as Jesus did. He washed the feet of every disciple. We will wash the feet of every inhabitant of this world. We won't even ask them to take off their shoes. If you don't, you not only miss what is happening, but you miss a major part of the Jesus teaching, because it's the prelude to everything. Much happens after this. Thou shalt not wash my feet, says Peter. Jesus answered, if I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Throughout, the Bible is a masterpiece that gives to those who want what they need, and that those who don't understand aren't hurt. Simon Peter saith to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Jesus saith to him, he that is washed needeth not to wash all, to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and ye are clean, but not all. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore, said he, ye are not all clean. So you know what washing the feet meant, right? He was telling them that the body, using the body as a symbol of whether or not a person was free of the body by knowing its reality, or hemmed in by the body not knowing its reality. If you knew that you were not in the body, which is what he was saying, if you knew that you were divine light, which is what he was saying, there was no need to wash. But he had to wash away a sense of mortality that was in each. He had to wash away the material substances which each accepted. He had to wash away everything that made a person think, I am a physical being. He was saying there is no human body. Now you know that's a brilliant stroke. Even Peter responded to it in the wrong way. And it could be used, the illusion could be spread in various types and various levels. But unless I wash you, you're going to have that material body. I'm not going to wash away the body. I'm telling you that you must. And so if I were to go among you and wash your feet, that would be the same thing, and I would be saying, this body is not your body. I wash away a little segment, but all of it, none of it, is your body. Your body is invisible light. Don't clothe yourself in a physical form and expect the world to reflect to you all that God is, all that God says you are. You are light, pure light, heavenly light, light that hasn't a flaw in it. Not light that goes through the streets and robs and murders and kills, but light that shines always. Light that loves its neighbor. Light forever in every circumstance. Light that only knows the truth of being, not the truth of matter. He was saying all this by washing their feet. But he was saying it to us. He didn't know us, but we were coming. He knew the world would come. He was telling the world to wash the feet of the world and look further than the matter. Look at the reality. Right in the midst of his trials, he was teaching. We have a function to ourselves. Between today and tomorrow, you've got to look at your body. You've got to meditate on your body. You've got to understand your body. You've got to see that God did not give me this body. If he had, it would be forever. If he had, it would be perfect now. God didn't give anyone their body. The body of Jesus Christ was not made of atoms and carbohydrates and substances that we all know. That's why there was no conception. And that's what divine conception meant. I have given you a perfect body of light. The same was said to you when you were born. You didn't hear it. You couldn't. Perhaps your mother heard it. One out of a million does, and perhaps not. And so you started out with a feeling of a mother's love for her physical baby. And that physical baby had to learn in the process that I'm not a physical baby. I'm not what you see. I'm the light of God. Just as Jesus was the light of God at his birth, only his mother saw him for what he was. And if every mother could see you for what you are, you would be an angel right now. And our world would be slightly different than we see. But even mothers are capable of not knowing that their child is not formed by God. It's a prelude to an act that someday will bring the presence of God into each life. Until that day, we have to take some measure of awareness into our daily life that this child is not what he appears to be. And no one that I know is what he appears to be. I keep washing the feet of humanity for that reason. The light must show. The light must be seen by my soul. The light must be seen by your soul. You look at everyone you know, and you say to yourself instinctively, this is the light of God. And as you know this truth of everyone you see, regardless of what they're showing, because they don't know the truth of themselves, the Father who sees you knows that you are honoring the Son. He who honors the Son honors the Father. We all have within us the ability, the knowledge, the capacity to walk in the heavenly kingdom. At the instant we acknowledge that everyone in the world is covering up the light of God unknowingly. But we know that the light of God is here, invisibly, and flows without restriction through anyone who has the vision, the awareness of the presence. And it is our function to have that awareness. That is a 24-hour awareness. It doesn't matter what you say or do, I must know that you are the child of God. That's my salvation. I must always bathe in the invisible light. If an army is coming at us, it will only appear that way, and I must see in the army the invisible light. It's a hypothetical case. It may not happen, and you may not have to do that, but you will find that the invisible light will always embrace you when you do. The hardest thing is to turn something on. You may know it's true, but it's buried. And you're walking around with a buried truth inside you. You've got to practice and practice and practice doing it, learning to bring it to the surface. And out of all this practicing will come the fact that your light will shine. Many have moments of crying. Why? Because they know not the light. You will find that your help is right where you are. Because ye are the light. And there's no sense crying about something when you can remedy it. And the remedy is so simple. Live as the light. Let it shine. Let it illumine those around you. When you are sending the light out, that's all you're going to see, feel, know. You're going to bless the world. We each have that opportunity, and as we dwell in the truth of our being, we'll find that there is nothing else true. I am the light whether I know it or not. Ye are the light whether you know it or not. And we, being the light, can know we are the light. We find that we are the kingdom of God. In order to find it, you have to recognize it where you are. And the magic. When you know the kingdom of light, the magic takes place. I even suspect that they don't have Bibles in the kingdom of light. Everyone is a walking Bible. Everyone. I don't know how light shakes hands, but I'd like to shake your hand before you go. I will silently acknowledge the light of you. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak with you, to share with you. I'd like to meet something of you in your reality. And I hope that's what we find happening as we say goodbye. Thank you very much for a glorious time. I say goodbye to the light, and may your light shine.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into our channel. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that like button below. It really helps us out. And why not share this video with your friends? Spread the word and help us reach more people. Lastly, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss a new video from us. Thanks for watching and see you next time.